Well, first of all, I want to thank all of you for being here. I mean, the coverage of softball is a big deal, and our athletes getting to see their name in the paper or online or on TV. That's part of the recruiting process as well. So I do appreciate all of you guys and what you do for our sport as well. I certainly never thought that we'd have 3 practice days canceled because of snow in South Louisiana, but that did happen. So, we just kind of, I think it was Friday, we got to get out in the snow, and we actually shoveled the snow against the wall and got to practice. And it was a lot of fun. But overall, I think just the spring practice so far has been good. I think our players are definitely excited about playing someone else because we've been kind of beating up on each other. So that's going to be exciting to actually get out and everybody be on the same team and get to play each other.
With a whole bunch of new faces around this team, how important and beneficial is it to have like the majority of the month of February here?
Oh, that's going to be a lot of fun. Just to get comfortable, of course, being at home, but also for our fans. I think hopefully when they watch us play, it'll be a gift to them, the way we play. Just being able to get out there and obviously the competition. We have Seton Hall first, and then, of course, Texas comes in, and then we have Ole Miss coming in the next weekend. So it's more also of a gift to our fans because they love softball here, and it's exciting. And it'll be great for our athletes, too, for our team to know kind of where we stand. And, some good competition early on will be good.
Expectations in dealing with them or around the conference, they're probably thinking, we don't know who the pitchers are going to be. We don't know anything. So it's kind of, how do you deal with expectations for a program that's used to such high expectations?
Yeah. Well, I mean, our team did expectation goals when we first came back, and the expectations are definitely high. I mean, we want to continue the standard that's already been here, and that's going to take a lot of hard work, but it's all about the process, right? It's all about day to day. It's what you invest every day. It's one pitch at a time. It's one game at a time, and that's where we're going to play it. We're going to take some bumps and bruises, and we know that. Ultimately, it's about finishing strong and being able to put ourselves in a situation to where we can play at the College World Series.
You mentioned about getting a chance to, do it here at Lamson very early on. And then against tough competition like Texas and Ole Miss and things like that. How important is it for you guys to get a chance to really see what you're made of very early in the season?
Yeah, it's a fine line there. When you're playing really good competition early and you have a new team that's kind of growing together, learning each other, learn how to trust each other. The confidence piece in our sport is it's a balancing act because it's a game of failure. Offensively, it's a game of failure. So it's being able to just persevere through that. And we talk a lot about the mental game and how we do that. And when you're playing really good competition, obviously the failure piece tends to go up even more. But I think that's going to be the battle. I think the battle of the mind and being able to just so what next at bat, so what next pitch, and be able to stay present in every game and to compete. To really, no matter what the score is, every pitch, every inning, we're competing, and that's the goal every game.
How do you feel the chemistry is for you as a new head coach with new players, new head coach, a lot of new? What is something that you try to bring some normality to the new team?
Yeah, that's a great question. And that was probably one of my biggest concerns coming in is how, the old players would respond to me and to the new players. And that's probably been the biggest blessing of all is, especially seniors, you come in and you're a new coach, and oftentimes seniors like, who are you to tell me what to do? I mean, I've played this game already, and I've succeeded at this game. So their receptivity, their coachability, their buy-in, because if the seniors do it, then everybody else seems to follow suit. So it's been just, I'm just so blessed to have the senior class that we have, and their coachability and how well they've received me and our staff and kind of what we're trying to implement. Has truly been probably the biggest surprise and also the biggest blessing of all of it, because from that comes trust, comes team chemistry. I mean, they talk about how much they love each other, and when they play together, I mean, I want them to have fun. We're going to compete like warriors, and we're going to be gritty and all that, but if they don't do it for each other, then it's really not that special. So it's important that they build trust and camaraderie with each other, because they got to they got to fight for each other, and that's when it's going to be really special.
Over your many years of coaching, I'm sure you've had countless examples where someone looks great in the fall, even great in January, and they don't get it done. And then there's other girls over the years, I'm sure that, I don't know about them in the fall, and they did okay. And then the season comes and they play well. So how hard is it your experience to judge and trust your eyes what you've seen and what you're seeing right now compared to what's going to happen in the spring?
Yeah, that's probably the most difficult piece, because people say, how are you guys? Like, it's hard to know, right? Because oftentimes you might have some practice players or even scrimmage players, and then maybe in the game, once the pressure's on, they may not respond to that. And then you have other athletes who maybe don't practice that well, but they're gamers, right? So I think we'll know that soon enough, but hopefully, again, in the end, it's about the chemistry and it's about them really wanting to fight for each other, even because it's going to be hard. I mean, the game is hard. So, when everything's going crazy and it gets hard, the goal is that they're going to get tougher, and they're going to fight for each other and really want to do something special as a team, especially this year, because I also think a lot of them have a chip on their shoulder as to what's happened, and and the naysayers and what they say is we're not that good, and I think we're picked maybe third or fourth in the Sun Belt. I'm not sure. I think Sam Rowe came out and said that at practice the other day. So I think those are things that motivate our team, and I love that because they have something to prove, and I think they're really excited to do that.
Right now, what would you say your strengths are?
I'd say our strength is that we have a lot of we have a variety. We have some speed, we have a little short game, and then we have some athletes in the middle of the lineup who can send it deep, hit a few home runs, maybe some gappers, and score runs. I think we're going to score runs a lot differently than they may have in the past, trying to create chaos for defense and just, again, playing the game fast and making it fast for the other team. And then hopefully the defense is going to, be able to, obviously the pitcher is keeping the ball in the park and then making some plays behind the pitcher.
Obviously you never know injuries and you never know who's going to do well or not or struggle, but timetable for getting some sort of idea of how your pitching staff's going to be utilized. I know that's probably the biggest question mark right now, but is that about just the start of conference play, or like where are you in the whole? You have that. If I was you, it'd be keeping me up at night, I think, not knowing about all that.
Yeah. And that's the crazy thing about the sport too, is the injuries, and you just never know. So right now, there are a couple of our pitchers who are kind of day to day. Hopefully by conference, we'll have it all ironed out and everybody be healthy. But until then, it's just day to day as far as who's healthy and who can throw, and we're just going to take that pretty much day to day.
So, like right now, who would probably throw the first weekend, or are you haven't even got to that?
I think obviously Tyra Clary, the senior, fifth-year senior from Nevada, she's been consistent, I guess, across the board, health-wise, and in scrimmages, has been the most consistent. Then you have Sam Ryan, who's a senior from last year, who's also been consistent and healthy. And then Bethany Noble is also probably going to get some innings. Mallory Wheeler has been throwing the ball hard. Hopefully she can get in there and get some good innings. I'd say those four right now. But then again, things happen every day. So we're trying to keep everybody healthy and on the same page, and pitch by committee sometimes, depending on who we're playing and what their strengths are.
Well, speaking on that, what do you like and what impresses you most about your pitching staff and your pitching group?
The fact they throw strikes. I mean, even in our scrimmages, we haven't had a lot of walks. The more freebies we can prevent, the better. Like, give our defense a chance to make a play, and I think good things will happen. So, again, some of them are pitch to contact. Some of them may have a few strikeouts. I think we can mix in some hard curveballs and rise balls, along with a drop ball and a changeup here and there. Hopefully, get a few strikeouts, but then manufacturing some ground outs and some pop ups, and again, just letting your defense have a chance to make some plays.
How much have you seen your team kind of lean into that chip on their shoulder mentality that you mentioned? Sam Rowe coming out and saying that y'all weren't, pick where you would like to be in the Sun Belt and things like that. How have you seen them embrace that feeling as the previous years of being kind of the hunted in the Sun Belt?
Yeah, that kind of remains to be seen. Whenever Sam Rowe came out and said that the team responded to that. So I think it was just an awareness. Again, we have 14 new players too. So, but I think the 10 returners kind of took that as really, kind of a shocker and a surprise. Like, there was just maybe more of a sense of urgency and a sense of like, okay, we're here to prove somebody wrong, which again, I think it gives us some bulletin board material that we can use moving forward for sure.
Last year, a lot was made about the different defensive system that they utilized, and it was very different. Right? Was there some deprogramming that had to take place, or was what y'all are doing teaching defense fairly similar to what they were doing before that? And what is the emphasis on defense? Because it's been like since before Y2K that defense has been the number one or number two emphasis in this program. Just talk about all that.
Yeah. I mean, we haven't really, I wouldn't say we changed a lot. Coming in as a new head coach too, I didn't want to just completely do a overhaul of change. So a lot of that stuff is still the same, and we have some returners in the middle infield, who have done that before. So, as a coach too, like I learned a lot from our athletes. Like I'm not the dictator coach who's going to tell you. I mean, there are certain decisions I have to make, and I know that, but it's about learning from them. Like, what are you comfortable with? What do you do in this situation? What do you like to do in this situation? Whether it's a cutoff or relay, or and we do this together. And because I think it's important to do it that way, because then they take ownership of, okay, this is what I like, and we're going to buy into this. I think oftentimes when you come in, you implement something that they don't really buy into, then it can be, they have to learn something new. Whereas if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, I think they did well last year on defense. So I don't want to break that. I think that's a good thing. And we're going to emphasize more of that as the season goes along, and emphasizing double plays. And again, because we're going to need a good defense, obviously I think we're going to get a lot of ground balls. So we want to kind of turn those into double plays, which would be really good to do.
Are there things you maybe took away from your year outside of the game, perspective that has kind of helped you as you stepped into this role?
Yeah, probably just a sense of clarity and perspective. Whereas when you're in it, I mean, you can get so caught up in things that really at the end of the day aren't that important, right? So I think being away from the game and then still being able to, still having relationships with those Alabama players, and then being able to call me and kind of, I think I learned a lot more about what's important to them in the sense of the athletes on the field. Not that I didn't as a coach, but probably more so about the mental game. I think the year off made me realize really how important, when it's all said and done, how important the mental game is, because they're athletes. They all know how to hit and catch and throw. They know how to do that. But at the end of the day, what they're thinking, and especially female athletes, matters a whole lot. So I think I gained and did a lot of research in the off season too. I'm fascinated by it, and I think it's a key part to our game.
In that research, what is the thing that kind of astounded you the most or fascinated you the most in kind of preparing?
Just in how much female athletes, specifically softball players, because it's a game of failure, how much they beat themselves up, and how much failure plays a part in them not being able to recover from that in their next at bat. And because they're perfectionists and they're pleasers, and they play a game of failure. I mean, that's not it doesn't go well together. So coming in, my job is I tell them every day, I want you to be able to play free. Like, I don't ever want you to strut to the batter's box and say, I got to get a hit, or I got to do something here. I get to show off my talents. I get to do this. I get to get the game-winning hit right here. Because get to means I'm free to do that. I'm excited about it, and I'm confident. Got to means I have to, which is anxiety, high anxiety, low performance. And I see that across the board in coaching as well. But I think when I took a step back and saw it like on TV and just watching the way they do things, and then hearing the input of those who would call, it was so mental. It was so much about the game of failure and how to respond from that.
So from what you've seen so far, fall and spring, do you see this as a lineup that you're probably going to have to change a lot? Or after a couple of weeks, you're hoping to kind of have a steady line?
I mean, I think it'll probably take more than a couple of weeks. But hopefully by the time conference gets here, it'll be something somewhat stable. But I'm going to be juggling probably a few positions around, which I think is good. I mean, I think it allows them to still compete, if nobody feels like they have a safe spot. they're always competing at practice, which I think is a healthy competition. And then I firmly believe, like, if an athlete's going to lift weights, go to study hall, and do all the things she's supposed to do, then she deserves an opportunity on the field at some point. So everyone will get a start, no matter who they are, because I think that's important. And then, whether it's a pinch runner or a pinch hitter or whatever role they come into, knowing that that's valued and appreciated as well, because it's going to take all of us.
So who's been the biggest surprise so far that maybe we weren't talking about in the fall that could help?
I guess probably the first one that comes to mind would probably be Mallory Wheeler. Just recruiting wise, she wasn't really throwing that hard. When we were recruiting her, our pitching coach was like, we might have to redshirt her, I'm not sure. And then she comes on and she's clocked at 70 a couple of times. So that was a pleasant surprise in the way her ball moves and just her determined spirit. So that's been a good surprise. And then, I didn't really know Emily Smith. I think her maturity as a freshman has been a pleasant surprise as well, because oftentimes you might have a big hitter come in who's a freshman, but then, she needs some time to develop and maturity-wise in the box. But Emily has proven that she has maturity there. She'll take a walk when she needs to, and, she can hit the ball pretty hard. So I'd say probably those two freshmen have been the biggest surprises.